We are starting with the 46th Sutra today. From Light on the Soul, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. All this constitutes meditation with seed. We can say all this that we've covered. Sure, we could say the last four sutras essentially have dealt with those forms of concentration which have been built up around an object. That object may concern that which is subtle and intangible from the physical plane standpoint. Nevertheless, from the standpoint of the real or spiritual man, the fact of the not self is involved. His current concern with that which, in any of its aspects, may lead him into realms which are not primarily those of pure spirit. We need, however, to remember here that all these four stages are necessary and must precede any more spiritual realization. The mind of man is not in itself so constituted that it can apprehend the things of spirit. As he passes from one stage of seated meditation to another, he ever approaches nearer to the seat of all knowledge and will eventually contact that upon which he is meditating. Then the nature of the thinker himself as pure spirit will be apprehended, and the steps, stages, objects, seeds, organs, forms, subtle or gross, will all be lost sight of, and only spirit be known. Both feeling and mind will then be transcended, and only God himself be seen. Yes, please. The lower vibrations will no longer be sensed. Color will no longer be seen. Only light will be known. Vision will be lost sight of, and the sound or word will alone be heard. The eye of Shiva will be left, and with that, the seer will identify himself. In the above fourfold elimination, the stages of realization are hinted at. Those stages which lead man out of the world of form into the realm of the formless. Students will find it interesting to compare the four stages whereby seated meditation progresses with the four above. It might be pointed out also that in any meditation wherein consciousness is recognized, that an object is present. In any meditation wherein the perceiver is aware of that which is to be seen, then there is as yet a condition of form perception. Only when all forms and the field of knowledge itself are lost sight of, the knower recognizes himself for what he essentially is. Can ideal, formless, seedless, objectless meditation be arrived at? And the knower recognizes himself for what he essentially is, being lost in contemplation of his own pure spiritual nature. Can ideal, formless, seedless, objectless meditation be arrived at? All forms in the field of knowledge itself are lost sight of. It is here that the language of the occultist and mystic both fail, for language deals with objectivity and its relation to spirit. Therefore, this higher condition of meditation is likened to a sleep or trance condition, but is the antithesis of physical sleep or the trance of the medium. For in it, the spiritual man is fully awake on those planes which transcend definition. He is aware in a full sense of his direct spiritual identity. Just thought it might be beneficial to look at these the four sutras that came before this. And this is something that for whatever reason stuck with me. These synonyms or correlations: spirit, soul, body, monad, ego, personality, divine self, higher self, lower self, perceiver, perception, and that which is perceived, knower, knowledge, field of knowledge, thinker, thought, and the mind. These perceiver, perception, and that which is perceived, and knower, knowledge, in the field of knowledge really stuck with me for a couple of days, and that really shut me up, along with the sutras before it as well. But when the perceiver blends to work the idea or meaning and the object, this is called the mental condition. When the perceiver blends the word, the idea or meaning, and the object, this is called the mental condition of judicial reasoning. Perception without judicial reasoning is arrived at when the memory no longer holds control, the word and the object are transcended, and only the idea is present. This is key, even though this is a small, there's a little commentary that's very clear cut. The same two processes of concentration, with and without judicial action of the mind, can be applied also to the things subtle. And the gross leads into the subtle, and the subtle leads in progressive stages to that state of pure spiritual being called pradhana. And then all this constitutes meditation with seed. This statement here, the eye of Shiva will be left, and with that the seer will identify himself. I'm thinking that the seer identifies himself with the eye at that point, because it's not saying that you've left form, your form permanently, right? So only when all forms in the field of knowledge itself are lost in sight of, and the knower recognizes himself for what he essentially is, can ideal, formless, seedless, objectless meditation be arrived at. It is here that the language of the occultist and mystic both fail, for the language deals with objectivity and its relation to spirit. This higher condition of meditation is likened to sleep or trance, but it's the antithesis of those. If you're fully awake on those planes which transcend definition, he is aware in full sense of his direct spiritual identity. But this is not saying that you don't still have a body that you're coming back to. Okay. 47, let's move on and see where this goes. When this super contemplative state is reached, the yogi acquires pure spiritual realization through the balanced quiet of the chitta or mind stuff. The Sanskrit words employed in this sutra can only be adequately translated into clear terms by the use of certain phrases which make the English version clearer. Literally, the sutra might be stated to run as follows. Clear perspicuity follows through the quiet chitta. Now, what we have to understand right away is that when the masters use a word, so somebody like DK is using a word, it's the best possible word for what is being said. So, because there's words that hold more appropriate meanings than others. And when at that point, you are able to use, and we'll be using the most clear and lucid expression of the word. And guess what perspicuity means? If we didn't know this, it means clarity, lucidity, especially in expression, the state or characteristic of being perspicuous. So we just add that to our vocabulary, and that was right on time. Clear perspicuity follows through the quiet chitta. It should be remembered here that the idea involved is that of purity in its true sense, meaning freedom from limitation, and therefore signifying the attainment of pure spiritual realization. Contact by the soul with the monad or spirit is the result, and knowledge of this contact is transmitted to the physical brain. This is only possible at a very advanced stage of yoga practice and when the mind stuff is utterly still. The Father in heaven is known as revealed by the Son to the Mother. Sattva or rhythm alone becomes manifest, rajas activity and tamas inertia being dominated and controlled. We should remember here that sattva has reference to the rhythm of the forms in which the yogi is functioning, and only as they express the highest of the three gunas, sattva, or qualities of matter, is the highest or spiritual aspect known. Only as rajas controls is the second aspect known. Only as tamas holds sway is the lowest aspect known. There's an interesting analogy between the inertia or tamas aspect of matter and the condition of the bodies of the yogi when in the highest samadhi. When the sattvic or rhythmic motion is so complete that to the eye of the average man a condition of quiescence is achieved, which is the sublimation of the tamasic or inert condition of the densest substance. Then the sattvic or rhythmic motion is so complete that to the eye of the average man, a condition of quiescence is achieved, which is the sublimation of the tamasic or inert condition of the densest substance. Following words from the commentary dealt with in Wood's translation of the sutras will be found helpful. When freed from obscuration by impurity, the sattva of the thinking substance, the essence of which is light, has pellucid, steady flow, not overwhelmed by the rajas and the tamas. This is the clearness. When this clearness arises in the super-reflective balanced state, then the yogin gains the internal undisturbed calm, that is to say, the vision of the flash, sputa, and of insight, which does not pass successively through the serial order of the usual process of experience, and which has as its intended object the thing as it really is. I guess this, the thing, this being the light, and impurity is an accretion of rajas and tamas that is the defilement, which has the distinguishing characteristic of obscuration. Clearness is freed from this. The man has succeeded through discipline, through following the means of yoga, and through perseverance in meditation, in disassociating himself from all forms and identifying himself with the formless. He has arrived at the point at the heart of his being. From that point of pure spiritual realization, he can increasingly work in the future. Through practice, he strengthens that realization, and all life, work, and circumstances are viewed as a passing pageant with which he is not concerned. Upon them, however, he can turn the searchlight of pure spirit. He himself is the light and knows himself as part of the light of the world, and in that light shall he see light. He knows things as they are and realizes that all which he has hitherto regarded as reality is but illusion. He has pierced the great Maya and passed behind it into the light which produces it. And for him, mistake is in the future impossible. His sense of values is correct. His sense of proportion is exact. He no longer is subject to deception, but stands freed from delusion. When this point is realized, pain and pleasure no longer affect him. He is lost in the bliss of self-realization. So just so you know, the word pellucid is not one that I remember at all, and that means translucently clear, as was in the quote up above. Now, well, perspicuity kind of means that as well. This is, we're really, and here's clear. So there's a, so this is the clearness. When this clearness arises, if we could see that pure realization and the words clear are really coming out here in a way. Balance quiet of the chitta, and in that light he shall see light. He'll know, and you know yourself apparently to be He knows himself to be the light of the world. And freed from delusion is the goal, right? Free from illusion and Maya and glamour, and past the dweller on the threshold. And this is certainly past that. All right, let's do 48. Sutra 48, his perception is now unfailingly exact, or his mind reveals only the truth. Can we imagine what that is like? And I think that we can, in a sense, when you just know things for what they are. I'm not saying that this is full time or anything, but I think that we can see where this goes. Both translations are here given, as they seem to give together a truer idea than either does alone. The word exact is used in its occult sense and deals with the outlook of the perceiver upon all phenomena. And then, we have the perceiver, perception, and that which is perceived. The word of illusion, or the world of form, must be exactly known. This means literally that the relation of every form to its name or originating word must be appreciated as it is. Sorry, take a quick break there. This means literally that the relation of every form to its name or originating word must be appreciated as it is. At the summation of the evolutionary process, every form of divine manifestation must respond exactly to its name or to the word which set up the original impulse and so brought a life into being. Therefore, the first translation emphasizes this idea, and the three factors are hinted at: the idea, the word, and the resultant form. They also inevitably bring with them another triplicity: time, which connects the three; space, which produces the three; and evolution, the process of production. Now, that is one of the most intense paragraphs. This is that I've seen. This is very profound. That the idea of this is very significant, and that's something that we can, we should probably take a minute and contemplate, think about here. One result of this is the demonstration of the law and the exact fulfilling of the purpose of God. This is realized by the yogi who has succeeded in eliminating all forms from his consciousness and has become aware of that which lies back of all forms. How he does this is revealed by the second translation. The mind stuff being now perfectly still, and the man being polarized in that factor which is not the mind nor any of the sheaths, can transmit to the physical brain unerringly, accurately, and without mistake that which is perceived in the light of the Shekinah, which streams from the Holy of Holies, into which the man has succeeded in entering. The truth is known in the cause of every form, and all the kingdoms of nature stands revealed. This is the revelation of the true magic and the key to the great magical work in which all true yogis and adepts participate. This, the 49th Sutra. This particular perception is unique and reveals that which the rational mind cannot reveal. The rational mind using testimony, inference, and deduction. The meaning here might be stated to be that the mind of man in its various aspects and uses can reveal those things which concern objectivity, but only identification with the spirit can reveal the nature and world of the spirit. Only identification with the spirit can reveal the nature and world of the spirit. No man hath seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he hath revealed him. Until a man knows himself as a son of God, until the Christ in each man is manifesting and the Christ life has full expression, and until the man is one with that internal spiritual reality, which is his true self, the particular knowledge dealt with here, knowledge of God and of spirit, independent of matter or form, is impossible. The testimony of the ages points to a spiritual force or life in the world. The inference to be garnered from the life experience of millions is that spirit exists. The deduction to be gathered from the consideration of the world or of the great Maya is that a cause, self-persisting and self-existing, must be back of that Maya. Only the man, however, who can pass behind all forms and can transcend all the limitations in the three worlds, mind, emotion, and the things of the sense, or the world, the flesh, and the devil, can know, past all controversy and argument, that God is, and that he himself is God. Then he knows the truth, and that truth makes him free. The field of knowledge, the instruments of knowledge, and the knowledge itself are transcended, and the yogi comes to the great recognition that there is nothing except God, that his life is one and is to be found pulsating in the microscopic atom and in the macrocosmic atom also. With that life, he identifies himself. He finds it at the heart of his own being and can there merge himself with the life of God as it is found in the ultimate primordial atom, or expand his realization until he knows himself as the life of the solar system. Let's keep going. This is really great stuff here. 50, it is hostile to or supersedes all other impressions. It seems like it does negate all the previous to it in that series. Previous to attaining this true perception, the onlooker has been dependent upon three other methods of ascertaining truth, all of them limited and imperfect. First way is through sense perceptions, which we know. In this method, the dweller in the body ascertains the nature of the objective world through the medium of his five senses. Objectivity or tangibility becomes known to him, and he hears, sees, touches, tastes, and smells the things of the physical world. He deals, however, with the effects produced by the subjective life, but has no clue to the causes or to the subjective energies of which they are the product. His interpretation of them is consequently false, leading to wrong identification and an erroneous set of values. Right. 2 is mental perception, which is the other way of the second way of ascertaining perceived truth. Through the use of the mind, the onlooker becomes aware of another grade of phenomena and is put in rapport with the thought world, or with that condition of substance in which is registered the thought impulses of our planet and its inhabitants, and with forms created by those vibratory impulses which express certain ideas and desires, primarily at present the latter. Owing to the erroneous perception brought about through the use of the senses and the wrong interpretation of the things sensed, these thought forms are in themselves distortions of the reality and express only those lower impulses and reactions which emanate from the lower kingdoms in nature. Students should remember that it is only when man is really beginning to use his mental body and is not used by it that he contacts the thought forms created by the guides of the race and justly perceives them. And then we have ascertaining truth through the super contemplative state. In this condition, perception is unfailingly accurate, and the other modes of vision are seen in their right proportions. The senses are no longer required by the onlooker, except insofar as he utilizes them for purposes of constructive work on their respective planes. He is now in possession of a faculty which safeguards him from error, and of sense, which only reveals to him things as they are. The conditions governing this stage might be enumerated as follows. 1, the man is polarized in his spiritual nature. 2, he recognizes himself and functions as the soul, the Christ. 3, he has the chitta or mind stuff in a state of quiescence. 4, the sutratma or thread is functioning adequately and the lower bodies are aligned upon it, producing a direct channel of communication with the physical brain. 5, the brain is trained to serve only as a delicate receiver of truth impressions. And 6, the third eye is in process of unfoldment. Later, as the centers are awakened and brought into conscious control, they place the man in rapport with the various energy septinates in the 7 planes of the system. And because the truth perceiving faculty is developed, the man is thereby safeguarded from error and from danger. They place the man in rapport with the various energy septinates in the 7 planes of the system, and because the truth perceiving faculty is developed, the man is thereby safeguarded. This has been very clearly and ably stated by Charles Johnston in the commentary on this sutra as follows. Each state or field of the mind, each field of knowledge, so to speak, which is reached by mental and emotional energies, is a psychical state, just as the mind picture of a stage with the actors on it is a psychical state or field. When the pure vision, as of the poet, the philosopher, the saint, fills the whole field, all lesser views and visions are crowded out. This high consciousness displaces all lesser consciousnesses. It displaces all lesser consciousness. Yet, in a certain sense, that which is viewed as part, even by the vision of a sage, has still an element of illusion, a thin psychical veil. However pure and luminous that veil may be, it is the last and highest psychic state. We're just absorbing now. We're just absorbing, we're taking it in, and we're making it our own. And we're invoking this understanding, and we're going to contemplate on these things as high as we can and follow along as best we can, and come to these revelations, hopefully, as this stuff is synthesized. So 51, let's do 51. This is the last sutra in the first book. And then we'll get started on the second book, which I've been told also has much profound knowledge held in it. So 51, when this state of perception is itself also restrained or superseded, then is pure samadhi achieved. The great teacher Patanjali, having led us through the various stages of the expanding consciousness, from seated meditation to that in which the senses and the mind are superseded, carries us into a state for which we have no adequate terminology. The yogi of the East applies the word samadhi to that state of consciousness wherein the world in which the spiritual man functions and the formless levels or planes of our solar system are contacted, seen, and known. The field of knowledge of the three worlds, the realms of Maya and of illusion, can be contacted at will by the seer using the instrument provided for him, but a new world opens up in which he sees his consciousness as one with all other energies, or conscious expressions of divine life. The last veil of illusion is withdrawn. The great heresy of separateness is seen in its true nature, and the seer can say with Christ, neither pray I for these alone, but for them also which shall believe on me through their word, that they all may be one, as thou, Father, art in me, I in thee, and I in thee, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me, and the glory which thou gavest me I have given them, that they may be one, even as we are one, I in them, and thou in me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that thou hast sent me, and hast loved them, and thou hast loved me. And that's from John 27. I'm sorry, John 17. So very, very interesting. So this first book is showing us the problem of union, in a sense. As far as I'm seeing, it's just a recap. It's showing us the problem of union, and in a very similar way, or in a way that is glamour. The book Glamour, the World Problem, shows us all of these illusions as well. So we're really getting to see it not so much from the glamour or illusion standpoint, but we're seeing the hindrances to achieving the highest, the highest state here, and what it's going to take to get there. And so it's taken that glamour and it's really adding a different perspective, from the angle of the perceiver, potentially. And here are all of the first sutras here. It's concerned with the science of union. It's called the problem of union, and that word problem, can be looked at in a scientific term. Not a problem, but a scientific problem. And it really shows us what all we have to get through here. So, okay, well, that was the first book. I mean, there was so much important stuff in here. I'm blown away. I'm very excited and thankful to have this commentary from them on these. As we know, this is a very important book for aspirants and disciples, along with the Bhagavad Gita and the New Testament. All right, so, all right, well, we will get started on book 2. Let's do it. All right, we'll see you soon. Have a good one.